With a new season comes new challengers. And while guys like Dave and Chief are always going to be there,
there are grudges in racing, and then there are the grudges that change a man forever. Ryan Martin was always calm, always the quiet one, always the professional. But even Ryan had a breaking point. A moment where he looked at a group of people he once trusted and realized they weren't teammates, they weren't rivals, they were the reason he almost walked away from everything. Fans saw the victories, the championships, the Fireball Camaro dominating season after season, but they never saw the betrayal. They never saw the manipulation. They never saw the group of racers who pushed Ryan to his absolute limit. And when Ryan finally said, "I don't hate anyone except them," the message was clear: this wasn't a rivalry. This was war. Who were they? What did they do? And why does Ryan still refuse to forgive them to this day? Don't even blink, because once you learn what really happened behind the scenes, you will understand why Ryan Martin truly hated him more than anyone. Ryan Martin didn't grow up inside the Oklahoma Racing Brotherhood. He wasn't raised in the garages where legends clashed, tuned, and built reputations through sleepless nights. He arrived as the quiet man with a flawless car, a sharp mind, and a level of precision that made the Oklahoma Street Kings uneasy. He wasn't family, he was a threat, a wild card, a mystery. Ryan watched everything, spoke little, and let his work define him. The Oklahoma Outlaws already had their rhythm long before he showed up, built on ego, loyalty, rivalry, and unspoken rules. Ryan entered that world alone, armed only with skill, discipline, and a reputation forged in silence. That early divide became the foundation of everything that would follow: the victories, the rivalries, the broken alliances, and the 5 names that would eventually carve themselves into Ryan Martin's memory forever. Number 1. Kamikaze Chris. Kamikaze Chris was the first name that ever shook Ryan Martin's trust inside the Oklahoma street racing crew. To fans, Kamikaze was pure chaos, loud, fearless, unpredictable, the kind of racer who made every episode feel dangerous and alive. Ryan respected that energy at first. He admired Kamikaze's courage, the way he attacked a street like nothing could break him. But Ryan also came from a world of discipline, data, and precision, and Kamikaze lived by instinct and adrenaline, 2 opposite styles forced into the same circle. The tension began quietly. Kamikaze would throw little jokes about Ryan being too serious, too analytical, or too quiet for the Oklahoma Street Kings. Ryan didn't react, but he didn't forget. Then, everything changed the night Kamikaze wrecked his El Camino, a crash that rocked the entire Oklahoma Street team. The Oklahoma Outlaws lost one of their loudest personalities overnight, and the pressure shifted heavily toward Ryan, who was still fighting for acceptance. He didn't blame Kamikaze for the wreck, but the aftermath exposed something deeper. Kamikaze disappeared, left the streets, and never reached out. No explanation, no conversation, no acknowledgement of how his absence shook the Oklahoma originals. For a man like Ryan, silence is louder than insults. He valued communication, responsibility, and loyalty, things Kamikaze's chaos never offered. Ryan didn't hate him. He was simply disappointed because he had respected him. And disappointment from someone you admire leaves a scar that never fully fades. That is why Kamikaze became the first name on Ryan's private list. Not out of anger, but because he taught Ryan the first hard truth of the Oklahoma heavyweights. Even the racers who burn the brightest can leave you holding their ashes. Number 2. Big Chief. Big Chief was the most complicated name on Ryan Martin's list because their relationship was built on equal parts respect, conflict, and unspoken tension. Before Ryan ever became the face of the Oklahoma Street Kings, Big Chief was the Oklahoma Street Kings. He controlled the list, controlled the lanes, controlled the rules, and shaped what the world believed street racing in Oklahoma looked like. To millions of fans, he was the fearless leader. But to Ryan, stepping into that world meant stepping into a system Chief had built long before he arrived, and that system demanded obedience, patience, and hierarchy. At first, Ryan admired him. Chief had a deep understanding of the streets, an unmatched presence, and a level of confidence that made racers lean in when he spoke. But once Ryan began rising through the Oklahoma Racing Brotherhood, that admiration slowly collided with reality. Chief wasn't just a leader, he was the gatekeeper. Every race ran through him, every list position depended on his calls, and every storyline the Oklahoma Street Legends followed was influenced by his voice. Ryan didn't want power, he wanted fairness. But in Chief's era, fairness wasn't neutral. Fairness was whatever Chief decided it to be. As Ryan started showing consistency, speed, and poise, the dynamic shifted. Chief wasn't used to someone climbing the ranks without needing him. Ryan didn't ask for help. He didn't rely on shortcuts. He earned everything through discipline and precision, and that independence made things tense. When someone rises quietly, without politicking, without begging for approval, it challenges the foundation of a leader who built the environment around his authority. Ryan realized the Oklahoma Outlaws respected him, but some also feared what he represented: change. When Chief's own controversies and off-camera drama began surfacing, the Oklahoma Street Legends split. Some stood with Chief, some turned away, some stayed quiet. Ryan didn't take sides publicly, but behind the scenes, the fallout hit him harder than anyone expected. The Oklahoma Street team needed a stabilizing force, and suddenly, all eyes shifted toward Ryan. He didn't want the crown, he didn't want the spotlight, but Chief's turbulence forced him into a position he never asked to hold. As Chief's grip loosened, Ryan's rise intensified, creating a silent struggle between the old guard and the new era. The real sting came from the moments where Chief could have embraced Ryan fully but didn't. He respected Ryan as a racer, but he never fully allowed him to stand beside him as an equal. There was always a distance, not loud, not hostile, but cold and deliberate. Ryan noticed, he felt it, he carried it, he continued winning anyway. And in the process, the Oklahoma original who once defined leadership now watched as someone else naturally took that position, without force, without conflict, and without asking for permission. This was not hatred. Ryan never hated Big Chief, but he recognized the tension that lived between them. Chief represented the system Ryan had to break through. Chief represented the spotlight Ryan never chased but eventually inherited. And Chief represented the truth that even the strongest leaders can become barriers when they fear being replaced. That is why Big Chief became the second name on Ryan's private list, not out of anger, but because through their silent rivalry, Ryan learned that respect and conflict can exist in the same breath, and that even the men you admire most can be the ones standing in your way. Number 3. Daddy Dave. Daddy Dave was never supposed to become a rival to Ryan Martin. In the beginning, they were the two men in the Oklahoma Street Kings who understood the grind better than anyone. Both were obsessed with performance. Both valued discipline. Both feared excuses more than losing. And both carried the weight of being held to a higher standard inside the Oklahoma racing brotherhood. They weren't just teammates, they were two racers cut from the same cloth, precise, focused, relentless. At first, Ryan saw Dave as the blueprint for what a true Oklahoma outlaw was supposed to be. Dave was battle-tested, experienced, and hungry. He had earned everything through struggle and hard lessons, and Ryan respected that deeply. But respect between elite racers can turn into tension faster than gasoline catches fire. As Ryan climbed through the Oklahoma racing circle, something began shifting that neither man spoke about out loud. Dave had been one of the top enforcers of the street list for years. He was the guy challengers feared, the man veterans measured themselves against. Then Ryan showed up quiet, calculating, fast, and every win he earned pushed Dave one step further from being the unquestioned number one. Their rivalry didn't begin with arguments or explosions. It began with silence. Long looks, tight shoulders, small comments during test sessions. Each win Ryan took felt like a pressure point. Each time Ryan tuned his way to perfection without needing Dave's input, the dynamic tightened. The Oklahoma Street Legends saw it, producers saw it, even fans felt it through their TV screens. Dave respected Ryan, but the rise of this new powerhouse meant Dave no longer controlled the fear factor he once held in the Oklahoma Outlaws. Ryan wasn't trying to replace him. He was simply outworking everyone, and that, unintentionally, made Dave feel pushed into a corner. The real fracture came with no prep kings. When Ryan dominated the series, Dave felt overshadowed. It wasn't envy in a childish way, it was the sting of watching someone else become the face of something you helped build. Dave had fought for years for Oklahoma to be seen as the strongest region in the country. Then Ryan delivered that dominance on a scale no one expected, and suddenly the Oklahoma Street Legends had a new leader without ever voting for one. Ryan didn't brag, he didn't claim the throne, but the results spoke louder than any speech. Behind the scenes, this pressure built up in subtle ways. Test nights became competitive instead of collaborative. Small tuning disagreements turned into silent frustrations. Film crews unintentionally fueled the fire by highlighting differences or focusing more heavily on Ryan's growing success. And when interviews came, Dave's praise always carried an undertone respect layered with very real discomfort. They weren't enemies. They weren't friends on the verge of collapse. They were two kings sharing one kingdom, and kingdoms don't naturally split power. What hurt Ryan wasn't the rivalry itself. Rivalry made him better. What stung him was the silence when he needed backing. When critics questioned Ryan's right to the throne, Dave didn't defend him. When fans claimed Ryan's success came from money instead of skill, Dave stayed quiet. And for a man like Ryan, loyalty matters just as much as horsepower. He didn't need praise. He simply needed acknowledgement. And that acknowledgement never came. Daddy Dave became the third name on Ryan's private list, not because he betrayed him publicly, but because he failed him silently. Their story was never about hatred. It was about the painful truth that even the racers built like brothers can turn into rivals when the spotlight shifts. And once the shift happens, there is no going back. Number 4, Jeff Lutz. Jeff Lutz was never an enemy to Ryan Martin, but he became the one critic whose words carried enough weight to leave a lasting mark. Jeff Lutz was a legend long before Ryan ever joined the Oklahoma Racing Brotherhood, a veteran builder, a proven racer, and a man whose opinion shaped the entire Oklahoma street team. When Ryan arrived, he expected criticism from outsiders, from fans online, from rivals across the country. But he never expected it from someone as respected as Jeff Lutz. Jeff didn't attack Ryan openly. His comments were subtle, questioning whether Ryan relied too much on data, too much on tech, too much on controlled tuning instead of raw instinct. Those small remarks reached Ryan fast. Because in Oklahoma, whispers travel quicker than nitrous. Ryan had built his entire identity on discipline and precision, and hearing someone of Lutz's stature downplay that work cut deeper than anything strangers said. It wasn't jealousy or malice on Jeff's part, it was old school racing clashing with Ryan's new school approach. But to Ryan, it felt like doubt from someone who should have understood him best. The moment that sealed it came during a run where Ryan faced increasing pressure about being too perfect, when Jeff shrugged and said, "Racing ain't supposed to be a science project." Ryan felt the sting more than the cameras ever showed. He didn't hate Jeff, he respected him, but respect makes criticism hurt twice as much. And that is why Jeff became the fourth name on Ryan's quiet list, not for betrayal, but for being the one critic whose words actually mattered. Number 5. Shawn Ellington. Murder Nova was the last person Ryan Martin ever expected to feel betrayed by. In the world of the Oklahoma Street Kings, Shawn was one of the few racers who truly understood the pressure of carrying a legacy. He had been through the spotlight, the downfall, the rebuild, the criticism, and the emotional weight that came with being one of the top faces of the Oklahoma street legends. Ryan respected Shawn from the very beginning because Shawn wasn't just fast, he was real, honest, straightforward, the kind of racer who didn't hide behind excuses or ego. That's why what happened later cut deeper than anything Ryan ever saw coming. In the early days, Ryan saw Murder Nova as someone he could trust inside the Oklahoma Racing Brotherhood. They both valued discipline. They both cared about representing Oklahoma the right way. They both knew what it meant to tune in silence while everyone else argued loudly. But as Ryan rose to dominance, the dynamic between them shifted in ways neither man predicted. Shawn had spent years being the emotional centerpiece of the Oklahoma street legends. His rebuilds, his setbacks, and his comebacks gave the show heart. Then Ryan arrived and began winning at a pace no one could match. Not with luck, not with money, but with pure consistency and control. Shawn handled it publicly with grace. He congratulated Ryan, he praised the work ethic, he acknowledged the wins. But privately, there was tension. It wasn't jealousy, it wasn't anger, it was something simpler. Shawn felt the weight of being overshadowed. For the first time, the Oklahoma Outlaws were looking at someone else as the backbone of the team. Producers shifted more attention toward Ryan. Storylines evolved, the spotlight changed direction, and when the Oklahoma street team looked for leadership, they turned more often toward the man winning everything. Shawn never attacked Ryan. He never tried to undermine him, but he grew quieter around him, more distant, less involved. There were moments when Ryan needed support, especially when critics started claiming he bought his wins or wasn't old school enough. Shawn didn't defend him the way Ryan expected someone of his stature would. His silence wasn't hateful, but it was heavy. Silence from someone you admire always hurts more than insults from people you don't. The moment Ryan truly felt the distance was during a season when things began falling apart off camera. While Ryan carried the Oklahoma legacy on his shoulders through win after win, he noticed Shawn stepping back emotionally, focusing on his own world and avoiding deeper conversations. It wasn't abandonment, it was self-protection. But Ryan didn't know that at the time. All he saw was a friend turning quieter just when the pressure on him reached its peak. It became clear that Shawn respected Ryan as a racer, but struggled with the emotional weight of watching the Oklahoma street legends shift into a new era, one that Ryan unintentionally led. That emotional distance became the unexpected wound on Ryan's list. Murder Nova wasn't an enemy, he wasn't a rival, but he was someone Ryan thought would stand closer during the hardest moments. And when he didn't, the disappointment carved itself into Ryan's memory. That is why Murder Nova became the fifth and final name on Ryan Martin's private list, not for betrayal, but for being the friend whose silence hurt more than any competitor's punch. Ryan never hated him, but he learned the painful truth that even the people you trust most can drift away when the world around you starts changing faster than anyone can handle. If you want more hidden stories from Street Outlaws and the Oklahoma Racing Brotherhood, hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you subscribe with notifications on. More untold truths are coming.